Can you believe it? The Euphrates River, an ancient and storied waterway in Western Asia, has become the focal point for answering some of our most profound and pressing questions. Many might wonder why this particular river holds such significance and how it connects to biblical prophecy. The Euphrates is not just a geographical feature. It is steeped in history and spirituality, playing a pivotal role in many ancient texts and prophecies. In today's video, we will explore the deep, prophetic significance of the Euphrates River. We'll delve into its historical context, its mention in various scriptures, and its crucial role in the unfolding events of the Rapture and the second coming of Christ. What is it about this river that makes it a cornerstone in the narrative of the end times? How does it intertwine with the predictions and visions that have intrigued theologians and believers for centuries? The Euphrates River stands as the largest river in Western Asia, its vast expanse beginning in Turkey and winding its way to the Persian Gulf. Along its journey, the river flows through southeastern Syria and then cuts across Iraq. Eventually, it merges with the Tigris River at the Shatt al-Arab, which later empties into the Persian Gulf. The bulk of the Euphrates water volume comes from rainfall and the melting ice and snow of its source regions. While we recognize the river's importance to human civilizations throughout history, it also holds substantial significance in the Bible. This article will explore the biblical references to the Euphrates River and their implications, as well as its role in prophetic events, especially concerning the second coming of Christ. In the book of Genesis, the origins of the Euphrates River are described in a passage that sets the stage for its biblical significance. Genesis 2:10-14 states, "A river flowed from the land of Eden, watering the garden and then dividing into 4 branches. The first branch, called the Pishon, flowed around the entire land of Havilah, where gold is found. The gold of that land is exceptionally pure. Aromatic resin and onyx stone are also found there. The second branch, called the Gihon, flowed around the entire land of Cush. The third branch, called the Tigris, flowed east of the land of Ashur. The fourth branch is called the Euphrates." This passage illustrates the Euphrates as one of the 4 rivers branching from Eden, emphasizing its ancient and divine origin. Further in Genesis, the significance of the Euphrates is underscored through God's covenant with Abraham. Genesis 15:18 states, "So the Lord made a covenant with Abram that day and said, 'I have given this land to your descendants, all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River.'" This covenant highlights the Euphrates as a boundary marker of the land promised to Abraham's descendants, indicating its importance in God's divine plan for the nation of Israel. The Old Testament contains numerous references to the Euphrates River, reinforcing its existence and significance in ancient times. However, the river's true biblical significance unfolds in later scriptures, particularly in prophetic contexts. To understand this fully, it is essential to explore the narrative of the second coming of Christ, a pivotal event in Christian eschatology. The Bible, through various books and prophecies, speaks extensively about the second coming of Christ. This anticipated event is a cornerstone of Christian belief, symbolizing the culmination of God's plan for humanity and the final judgment. Christians believe that Jesus will return to earth, bringing about the resurrection of the dead, the final judgment, and the establishment of God's eternal kingdom. This period of preparation and anticipation is known as the end times, a time when believers are called to remain vigilant and faithful. However, the exact timing of the second coming is shrouded in mystery. No one knows the precise day or hour when Christ will return. This is explicitly stated in Matthew 24:36. However, no one knows the day or hour when these things will happen. Not even the angels in heaven or the Son himself. Only the Father knows. This verse underscores the unpredictability of the event, highlighting that not even the angels or Jesus himself knows the exact timing. Only God the Father. This uncertainty has led to much speculation among believers and religious leaders over the centuries. Numerous public predictions have been made, each attempting to pinpoint the date of Christ's return. Despite these predictions, none have proven accurate, as the Bible clearly indicates that the event will occur at an unexpected moment. Jesus likens this unexpectedness to the days of Noah before the flood. Matthew 24:37-39 elaborates. When the Son of Man returns, it will be like it was in Noah's day. In those days before the flood, the people were enjoying banquets and parties and weddings right up to the time Noah entered his boat. People didn't realize what was going to happen until the flood came and swept them all away. That is the way it will be when the Son of Man comes. This passage serves as a warning to remain prepared and vigilant, as the second coming will occur during a time of normalcy, when people are engrossed in their daily lives and festivities. It emphasizes the importance of spiritual readiness, as the event will come without warning, akin to the sudden arrival of the flood in Noah's time. One of the significant events that will precede the second coming is the rapture. The rapture is a moment described in Christian eschatology when believers will be taken up to meet Christ in the air. This event is often associated with a period of tribulation, a time of great suffering and turmoil on earth. The concept of the rapture is derived from passages such as 1 Thessalonians 4:16-17, "For the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a commanding shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God. First, the Christians who have died will rise from their graves. Then, together with them, we who are still alive and remain on the earth will be caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Then, we will be with the Lord forever." The rapture signifies the moment when Christ will gather his faithful followers, both the living and the dead, to be with him eternally. This event marks the beginning of the end times and sets the stage for the final judgment and the establishment of God's kingdom. The Euphrates River, with its deep biblical roots, also plays a crucial role in these end-time events. In the book of Revelation, the Euphrates is mentioned in the context of the sixth angel's trumpet judgment. Revelation 9:14-15 states, "And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, Loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men." This passage indicates that the Euphrates River will play a pivotal role in the events leading up to the final judgment. The release of the four angels bound at the Euphrates signifies a significant turning point in the tribulation period, resulting in widespread destruction and loss of life. Further, in Revelation 16:12, the Euphrates is mentioned again in the context of the 7 bowls of God's wrath. The sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. This drying up of the Euphrates prepares the way for the armies of the kings from the east, setting the stage for the Battle of Armageddon, a climactic confrontation between the forces of good and evil. The significance of the Euphrates River in these prophetic events highlights its role as a key geographical and spiritual marker in the unfolding of God's divine plan. It serves as a reminder of God's sovereignty and the fulfillment of biblical prophecies. The river, which has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations throughout history, will also bear witness to the final events leading to the establishment of God's eternal kingdom. In conclusion, the Euphrates River is not only a vital waterway in Western Asia, but also a significant biblical symbol. From its mention in the creation narrative in Genesis to its role in end-time prophecies in Revelation, the Euphrates serves as a testament to God's enduring presence and divine plan for humanity. As we await the second coming of Christ, the Euphrates stands as a reminder of the importance of remaining vigilant and prepared for the fulfillment of God's promises. The river's historical and prophetic significance underscores its role in the grand narrative of the Bible, connecting the past, present, and future in God's eternal plan. The concept of the rapture is pivotal in Christian eschatology and holds significant importance in the context of the second coming of Christ. The rapture refers to the event where believers in Christ, both those who have died and those still alive, are taken up to meet the Lord in the air. This belief is rooted in the teachings of the Apostle Paul, particularly in 1 Thessalonians 4:14-15, which states, "For since we believe that Jesus died and was raised to life again, we also believe that when Jesus returns, God will bring back with him the believers who have died. We tell you this directly from the Lord. We who are still living when the Lord returns will not meet him ahead of those who have died." According to this scripture, the rapture is for those who genuinely believe that Jesus Christ died and was resurrected. This event will include both those who have passed away and those who are alive at the time of the rapture. Those who have already died will rise first, followed by the living believers, and together they will be taken to meet the Lord. Following the rapture, an angel emerges from the east, carrying the seal of the living God. This angel has a specific mission to command the four angels of destruction to refrain from harming the earth, the oceans, or the land, until the chosen 144,000 servants of God have been sealed. These 144,000 individuals come from the 12 tribes of Israel, with 12,000 from each tribe. This sealing signifies their protection and dedication to God. Once the angel has completed the task of sealing the 144,000 chosen individuals, the 7 trumpets are blown by angels, signaling the beginning of a series of catastrophic events. The first 4 trumpets are known as the trumpets of devastation, each bringing severe judgments upon the earth. At the sound of the first trumpet, fire mixed with blood rains down on the earth, causing all green grass and a third of the trees to burn. This catastrophic event leads to widespread destruction of vegetation. The second trumpet brings about the plunge of a large burning rock into the oceans. This massive impact destroys all ships and marine life, and a third of the oceans are turned into blood, causing further ecological and maritime devastation. When the third trumpet sounds, a great star named Wormwood falls from the sky, poisoning a third of all freshwater sources. The resulting contamination leads to many people suffering and dying from the poisoned water, emphasizing the severity of the judgment. The fourth trumpet affects the celestial bodies, the sun, moon, and stars, causing them to be struck. This results in a significant reduction of light, leading to darkness over the earth for a third of the day and night. This darkness symbolizes a period of spiritual and physical turmoil. The remaining 3 trumpets are known as the 3 woes. Before the 5th trumpet sounds, an angel appears with a dire warning to those left on earth. Woe, woe, woe to those who dwell on the earth, because of the remaining blasts of the trumpet of the 3 angels who are about to sound. At the sound of the 5th trumpet, a personified star descends to earth and opens the bottomless pit. Smoke rises from the pit, darkening the atmosphere. From this smoke, locusts commanded by their king, Abaddon, are released. These locusts, described as having scorpion tails, warhorse bodies, lion's teeth, and human-like faces, are sent to torment those who do not have the seal of God. Their mission is not to kill, but to inflict severe pain, causing immense suffering for those left on earth. When the sixth trumpet sounds, 4 angels that had been bound at the Euphrates River are released. Each angel leads an army of 200 million mounted troops. These warriors are described as being capable of bringing forth fire, brimstone, and smoke, which they use to kill 1/3 of mankind. The sheer scale of this destruction emphasizes the severity of the judgment and the power of the forces unleashed. Finally, the 7th trumpet sounds, and loud voices from heaven proclaim, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah, and he will reign forever and ever." This declaration signifies the ultimate triumph of God's kingdom and the culmination of the prophetic events. Any survivors deemed worthy are also taken up by God to join the others who were previously raptured. This final gathering completes the process of bringing all faithful believers into God's presence. The series of events following the rapture underscores the importance of being prepared and faithful to Christ. The rapture serves as a dividing line between those who are saved and those who face the ensuing judgments. It emphasizes the urgency of faith and the consequences of disbelief. The subsequent judgments, marked by the blowing of the 7 trumpets, serve as a stark reminder of the divine justice and the ultimate sovereignty of God. In conclusion, the rapture is a crucial event in Christian eschatology that signifies the gathering of believers to meet Christ. It marks the beginning of a series of divine judgments upon the earth, leading to the eventual establishment of God's eternal kingdom. Understanding the rapture and the events that follow provides believers with a sense of hope and urgency in their faith journey, emphasizing the importance of being prepared for Christ's return. The prophecy of Daniel provides profound insights into the end times and the eventual deliverance of God's people. It foresees a future where all nations, not just the Jews, will experience redemption through the return of Jesus Christ. This promise is encapsulated in Daniel 12:1, assuring that, "At that time your people shall be delivered, everyone who is found written in the book." From a broader theological perspective, the return of Jesus Christ signifies the culmination of history and the establishment of God's eternal kingdom. This kingdom, prophesied to King Nebuchadnezzar by Daniel, will surpass and outlast all earthly kingdoms, symbolizing a reign of righteousness and peace. Daniel 2:44. Understanding the end times, particularly from a Christian viewpoint, involves examining how prophecy in Daniel and Revelation intertwines with their fulfillment. While Revelation is often studied for eschatological insights in the New Testament, Daniel provides crucial perspectives from the Old Testament. Positioned among the prophets in Christian Bibles, Daniel's placement within the Hebrew canon within the writings underscores its comprehensive view of divine revelation regarding human governments and the future divine kingdom. Daniel, like other biblical prophets, prayed fervently for his people and deeply studied the scriptures of his time. His book, written in both Aramaic and Hebrew, reflects his profound understanding of the international and native languages of his era, showcasing his role as a wise and capable figure in Babylonian court circles. Daniel 1:4-7. Daniel's prophecies extend beyond his immediate context to anticipate the trials and tribulations preceding the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. His vision of a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, Daniel 12:1, points to an unprecedented period of upheaval and divine intervention. culminating in the vindication and deliverance of God's faithful. A notable prophecy within Daniel 12 concerns the protection of God's people during these tumultuous times. Revelation 3:10 echoes this sentiment, promising that those who persevere will be spared from the hour of trial that will test the world's inhabitants. This assurance of divine protection amidst global upheaval underscores God's providential care for His people, extending beyond national and cultural boundaries to encompass all who remain faithful to Him. In practical terms, the prophetic guidance in Luke 21:20-21 advises believers to heed signs of impending disaster and act accordingly, as seen in the historical fulfillment of Jerusalem's siege in 70 AD. Just as believers fled Jerusalem when it was surrounded by Roman armies, future believers are encouraged to discern the signs of the times and take appropriate steps to safeguard themselves spiritually and physically. While the book of Revelation is distinct in its apocalyptic imagery and narrative structure, it complements Daniel's prophetic framework by providing additional insights into the final consummation of God's purposes for humanity. Together, these books weave a tapestry of divine revelation spanning centuries, offering hope and clarity amidst the uncertainties of the present age. In conclusion, Daniel's prophecy and its correlation with Revelation illuminate not only the future course of human history, but also God's enduring faithfulness to His people. As believers await the fulfillment of these prophecies, they are reminded of their dual citizenship in earthly kingdoms and in God's eternal kingdom. This anticipation calls for vigilance, prayerful discernment, and steadfast commitment to living out the gospel amidst the challenges of the present age. The Bible contains numerous prophecies that anticipate significant events, including the coming of Jesus Christ. For instance, passages like Deuteronomy 18:15-18, Psalms 45, and Psalms 110 predict Jesus' arrival on earth as a human. This prophetic literature often shares common traits, particularly the apocalyptic style found in books such as Daniel and Revelation. These writings employ highly symbolic language and convey a belief in the imminent end of the world, a style prominent in the intertestamental period. While many apocalyptic texts from that era are not considered divinely inspired, the inclusion of Daniel and Revelation in the Bible affirms their authenticity and divine origin. Critics sometimes argue that the book of Daniel was written after the events it describes, but biblical texts consistently demonstrate God's ability to reveal future events through His prophets. Amos 3:7 underscores this principle. Surely the Lord God does nothing unless He reveals His secret to His servants, the prophets. Daniel himself attributes his prophecies to divine revelation in several passages, e.g., Daniel 2:19, 2:21-23, 2:28, 5:14, 7:15, 16, 8:16, 9:21-22, 10:1-14. This attribution emphasizes that Daniel's visions were not products of his imagination, but revelations from God. Isaiah 46:9-10 further reinforces God's sovereignty in declaring future events from ancient times. Likewise, the book of Revelation is introduced as a direct prophecy from God. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave Him to show His servants, things which must shortly take place. Revelation 1:1. The divine origin of these prophecies guarantees their truthfulness, as God, who cannot lie, Titus 1:2, inspired them. One distinctive aspect of the book of Daniel is its setting outside Israel. While most of the Old Testament focuses on God's chosen nation, Israel, Daniel's narrative unfolds within the Babylonian Empire. This context is crucial as it underscores God's sovereignty over all nations. Even King Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged the superiority of Daniel's God, Daniel 2:47. a testament to God's power amidst the exile of disobedient Jews. Daniel also shifts focus from Israel's immediate history to a global perspective on world-ruling empires. Visions given to both Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel outline a succession of major empires, culminating in God's eternal kingdom. This prophetic overview, unique in the Old Testament, is referenced extensively in the New Testament, highlighting its enduring significance. The book of Revelation builds upon Daniel's prophecies by detailing events leading to Christ's return and the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. It expands on themes of judgment and resurrection, concepts briefly mentioned in Daniel 12:2. Jesus himself authenticated Daniel's prophecies, referencing them in his teachings on end-time events, Matthew 24:15. Historically, Daniel was a young Jewish intellectual living in Jerusalem during Babylon's rise to power in the late 600s BC. The Babylonian invasion led to Daniel's exile, where he served in the Babylonian court. Despite its prophetic nature, Daniel is categorized in the Old Testament's writings section, reflecting its historical and literary context. In summary, the book of Daniel is pivotal in biblical prophecy, offering profound insights into world empires and God's ultimate plan. It complements Revelation by providing foundational visions that anticipate the establishment of God's eternal kingdom. Both books, written in apocalyptic style, are divinely inspired, affirming the truth of God's prophecies across centuries and cultures. Daniel's narrative underscores God's sovereignty over nations and his revelation through chosen prophets, resonating with believers across ages as they anticipate the fulfillment of God's promises. The book of Daniel is a cornerstone of biblical prophecy, providing rich insights and detailed foretellings of events in both historical and future contexts. One of the most significant prophecies is found in Daniel 9, which offers a detailed timeline that situates historical events and predicts future occurrences. Daniel, along with many Jews, including children from prominent families, was taken to Babylon as a prisoner during the Babylonian conquest of Judah around 605 BC. Daniel 1:1. Among these captives were Daniel's friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, known by their Babylonian names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Daniel's natural abilities, complemented by divine assistance, quickly elevated him within the Babylonian government. The God of Israel, whom Daniel faithfully served, endowed him with the ability to interpret dreams and granted him several visions. Shortly after Daniel began serving King Nebuchadnezzar, the king had a disturbing dream that none of his magicians, astrologers, or sorcerers could interpret. They despairingly declared, "There is no other who can tell it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh." Daniel 2:11. Enraged by their inability, Nebuchadnezzar ordered the execution of all his wise men, including Daniel and his friends. Upon learning of the decree, Daniel requested an audience with the king, promising to reveal the dream and its interpretation. Granted this request, Daniel, with his friends, earnestly sought God's mercy and wisdom. God revealed the dream and its meaning to Daniel in a vision, Daniel 2:19. Daniel appeared before King Nebuchadnezzar and declared, "There is a God in heaven who reveals secrets." He recounted and interpreted the king's dream, which involved a magnificent statue with a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet partly of iron and partly of clay. A supernatural stone, cut out without hands, struck the statue's feet, shattering the entire structure, which was then blown away like chaff. The stone grew into a mountain that filled the whole earth, Daniel 2:31-35. Daniel explained that the statue represented 4 successive world empires. The head of gold symbolized Nebuchadnezzar's Babylonian Empire. Following Babylon, an inferior kingdom, the chest and arms of silver, would arise, then a third kingdom of bronze, and finally a fourth kingdom, as strong as iron, which would crush all others. This last empire would eventually be divided, symbolized by the feet of iron and clay, and its ultimate destruction would coincide with the establishment of God's eternal kingdom, represented by the stone, Daniel 2:36-45. While the names of the kingdoms were not initially revealed, later visions provided more details. In Daniel 7, another vision described 4 beasts, symbolizing 4 empires. The first beast resembled a lion, the second a bear, the third a leopard, and the fourth was a terrifying beast with iron teeth and 10 horns. Daniel 7:1-7. These visions further confirmed the succession of empires and the eventual establishment of God's kingdom. Jesus himself referred to these prophecies, underscoring their significance. In Matthew 24:15, he mentioned the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, linking Daniel's visions to end-time events. After interpreting the dream, Daniel was appointed chief administrator over all the wise men of Babylon. This position allowed him to influence the kingdom and bear witness to the power and sovereignty of the God of Israel. The prophecies in the book of Daniel not only reveal the rise and fall of empires, but also highlight God's control over history and his ultimate plan for an eternal kingdom. The prophetic insights provided in Daniel complement those in the New Testament, especially in the book of Revelation. Together, these books offer a comprehensive picture of God's plan for humanity, the rise and fall of earthly kingdoms, and the establishment of his everlasting kingdom. Daniel's faithfulness and the divine revelations he received offer a powerful testimony to God's sovereignty and his plans for the world. The prophecies in Daniel, echoed and expanded upon in Revelation, assure believers of the ultimate victory of God's kingdom over all earthly powers. This prophecy from Daniel emphasizes the rise of 4 great earthly kingdoms. Nebuchadnezzar's dream in Daniel 2, echoed in Daniel 7, reveals these kingdoms. The second kingdom is identified as the kings of Media and Persia, while the third kingdom is Greece, Daniel 8:20-21. The fourth kingdom is described with 10 horns representing 10 kings, symbolizing 10 revivals of the Roman Empire, Daniel 7:24. So far, 9 revivals have occurred, with 1 more yet to come. Historical events confirm the accuracy of these prophecies. The Babylonian Empire, 625-539 BC, was followed by the Medo-Persian Empire, 538-330 BC, which fell to the Greco-Macedonian Empire under Alexander the Great. Alexander's empire was swiftly divided among his 4 generals, Daniel 8:14. The Roman Empire, symbolized by iron, emerged in 31 BC, dominating until AD 476. It was known for its military prowess and brutality, absorbing previous kingdoms. The Roman Empire split into Western, Rome, and Eastern, Constantinople divisions around AD 330, matching the 2 legs of Nebuchadnezzar's statue. The prophecies in Daniel predict a final revival of the Roman Empire, symbolized by the 10 toes, representing 10 kings who will receive power briefly before the kingdom of God is established. Revelation 17:12. This union of 10 kingdoms, likely emerging from the European Union, will ultimately crumble due to the weak bond between iron and clay. The accuracy of these prophecies, spanning centuries, demonstrates divine inspiration. Daniel's predictions, made around 600 BC, accurately foresaw the development of these kingdoms. God's promise to Israel, conditional on their obedience, was to elevate them above all nations. Deuteronomy 28:1, Genesis 26:4, 48:4. However, disobedience led to their captivity. Deuteronomy 28:15, 41. Israel fell to the Assyrians and Judah to Nebuchadnezzar, fulfilling God's warnings. The prophecies revealed to Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel about the world's major kingdoms have unfolded precisely as predicted, also foretelling the coming kingdom of God. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon from 604–561 BC, is a significant biblical figure, notorious for his conquests and for destroying the temple in Jerusalem. Despite his enmity towards the Jews, Nebuchadnezzar issued an edict recorded in Daniel 4, making him the only heathen monarch extensively quoted in the Bible. His decree holds significant importance, demonstrating God's influence even over pagan rulers. This historical footnote highlights the enduring impact of God's revelations through Daniel and the ultimate fulfillment of his divine plan. The book of Daniel contains rich prophetic literature and is significant for understanding the foretelling of events in biblical history. Among the numerous prophecies, one of the most discussed is found in Daniel 9, which provides a detailed timeline. This chapter, along with others, helps to situate historical events and prophecies about the future. Daniel was among the many Jews, including children of prominent Jewish families, taken to Babylon as prisoners, along with his three friends, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, better known by their Babylonian names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Daniel was captured during the Babylonian conquest of Judah around 605 BC, Daniel 1:1. Daniel's natural abilities, coupled with divine assistance, quickly elevated him within the Babylonian government. The God of Israel, whom Daniel faithfully served, endowed him with the ability to interpret dreams and granted him several visions with their meanings. Shortly after Daniel began serving King Nebuchadnezzar, the king had a disturbing dream that none of his magicians, astrologers, or sorcerers could interpret. In their frustration and fear, they declared, "There is no other who can tell it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh." Daniel 2:11. King Nebuchadnezzar, enraged by their inability, ordered the execution of all his wise men, including Daniel and his friends. When Daniel learned of the decree, he requested an audience with the king, promising to reveal the dream and its interpretation. His request was granted, and Daniel, with his friends, earnestly sought God's mercy and wisdom. God revealed the dream and its meaning to Daniel in a vision, Daniel 2:19. Appearing before King Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel declared, "There is a God in heaven who reveals secrets," and proceeded to recount and interpret the king's dream. Nebuchadnezzar had seen a magnificent statue with a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet partly of iron and partly of clay. A supernatural stone, cut out without hands, struck the statue's feet, shattering the entire structure, which was then blown away like chaff. The stone grew into a mountain that filled the whole earth. Daniel 2:31–35. Daniel explained that the statue represented 4 successive world empires. The head of gold symbolized Nebuchadnezzar's Babylonian Empire. Following Babylon, an inferior kingdom, the chest and arms of silver, would arise, then a third kingdom of bronze, and finally, a fourth kingdom, as strong as iron, which would crush all others. This last empire would eventually be divided, symbolized by the feet of iron and clay, and its ultimate destruction would coincide with the establishment of God's eternal kingdom, represented by the stone, Daniel 2:36–45. While the names of the kingdoms were not initially revealed, later visions provided more details. In Daniel 7, another vision described 4 beasts, symbolizing 4 empires. The first beast resembled a lion, the second a bear, the third a leopard, and the fourth was a terrifying beast with iron teeth and 10 horns. Daniel 7:1-7. These visions further confirmed the succession of empires and the eventual establishment of God's kingdom. Jesus himself referred to these prophecies, underscoring their significance. In Matthew 24:15, he mentioned the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, linking Daniel's visions to end-time events. After interpreting the dream, Daniel was appointed chief administrator over all the wise men of Babylon. This position allowed him to influence the kingdom and bear witness to the power and sovereignty of the God of Israel. The prophecies in the book of Daniel not only reveal the rise and fall of empires, but also highlight God's control over history and his ultimate plan for an eternal kingdom. The prophetic insights provided in Daniel complement those in the New Testament, especially in the book of Revelation. Together, these books offer a comprehensive picture of God's plan for humanity, the rise and fall of earthly kingdoms, and the establishment of his everlasting kingdom. The book of Daniel is a cornerstone of biblical prophecy, providing detailed visions of future events and the coming of God's kingdom. Daniel's faithfulness, coupled with divine revelation, offers a powerful testimony to God's sovereignty and his plans for the world. The prophecies in Daniel, echoed and expanded upon in Revelation, assure believers of the ultimate victory of God's kingdom over all earthly powers. This prophecy from Daniel emphasizes the rise of 4 great earthly kingdoms. Nebuchadnezzar's dream in Daniel 2, echoed in Daniel 7, reveals these kingdoms. The second kingdom is identified as the kings of Media and Persia, while the third kingdom is Greece, Daniel 8:20-21. The fourth kingdom is described with 10 horns representing 10 kings, symbolizing 10 revivals of the Roman Empire, Daniel 7:24. So far, 9 revivals have occurred, with 1 more yet to come. Historical events confirm the accuracy of these prophecies. The Babylonian Empire, 625-539 BC, was followed by the Medo-Persian Empire, 538-330 BC, which fell to the Greco-Macedonian Empire under Alexander the Great. Alexander's empire was swiftly divided among his 4 generals, Daniel 8:14. The Roman Empire, symbolized by iron, emerged in 31 BC, dominating until AD 476. It was known for its military prowess and brutality, absorbing previous kingdoms. The Roman Empire split into Western Rome and Eastern Constantinople divisions around AD 330, matching the 2 legs of Nebuchadnezzar's statue. The prophecies in Daniel predict a final revival of the Roman Empire, symbolized by the 10 toes, representing 10 kings who will receive power briefly before the kingdom of God is established, Revelation 17:12. This union of 10 kingdoms, likely emerging from the European Union, will ultimately crumble due to the weak bond between iron and clay. The accuracy of these prophecies, spanning centuries, demonstrates divine inspiration. Daniel's predictions, made around 600 BC, accurately foresaw the development of these kingdoms. God's promise to Israel, conditional on their obedience, was to elevate them above all nations, Deuteronomy 28:1, Genesis 26:4, 48:4. However, disobedience led to their captivity, Deuteronomy 28:15, 41. Israel fell to the Assyrians, and Judah to Nebuchadnezzar, fulfilling God's warnings. The prophecies revealed to Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel about the world's major kingdoms have unfolded precisely as predicted, also foretelling the coming kingdom of God. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon from 604-561 BC, is a significant biblical figure, notorious for his conquests and for destroying the temple in Jerusalem. Despite his enmity towards the Jews, Nebuchadnezzar issued an edict recorded in Daniel 4, making him the only heathen monarch extensively quoted in the Bible. His decree holds significant importance, demonstrating God's influence even over pagan rulers. This historical footnote highlights the enduring impact of God's revelations through Daniel and the ultimate fulfillment of his divine plan. This passage in the book of Daniel, inspired by God and profitable for us to read, 2 Timothy 3:16, holds an important message through the story of King Nebuchadnezzar's decree. Written in Aramaic, this decree is significant not only because of its content, but also due to its linguistic and cultural context. Most of the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and most of the New Testament in Greek, but small portions of both were written in Aramaic. The extensive use of Aramaic in the Bible is particularly found in the book of Daniel, including Nebuchadnezzar's edict in chapter 4. This use of Aramaic is not surprising given that the setting of the book is during the Jews' captivity in Babylon. Aramaic, also called Chaldean, or the language of the Chaldeans, was the language of ancient Babylon, and Daniel and his fellow captives were taught it as part of their training to serve the king. Daniel 1:4-4. Consequently, all Jews began learning and using this language, and it eventually displaced Hebrew as the spoken language of the Jews in Palestine. Including both Hebrew and Aramaic in the book of Daniel reflected the Jews' bilingual nature. Since Babylon was the major empire at that time, its language, Aramaic, was the language of international protocol. Therefore, in addressing his decree to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, it made sense for Nebuchadnezzar to issue his decree in Aramaic, Daniel 4:1. Most heathen kings delighted in erecting large monuments to tout their power and military successes, and King Nebuchadnezzar was no exception. He had many such monuments, but his decree in Daniel 4 deviated from the usual pattern for kings. Instead of boasting about his accomplishments, his decree included not only an account of a dream affirming his kingdom's prestige, but also the story of his personal humiliation. Most people, especially kings, do not like to speak of their shortcomings, yet for some reason, Nebuchadnezzar admitted to everyone a grave personal fault and the punishment he received because of it. Nebuchadnezzar went insane, with his dementia so severe that he completely lost his mind and lived like an animal for 7 times, apparently 7 years. Daniel 4:32-33. What brought on this punishment was pride. God forewarned Nebuchadnezzar of his impending demise through the dream he gave him. Daniel, who interpreted the dream for the king, advised him to break off his sins by being righteous and his iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, perhaps lengthening his prosperity. Daniel 4:27. However, Nebuchadnezzar could not contain himself. A year later, while walking about his royal palace, he boasted about the great Babylon he had built by his mighty power and for the honor of his majesty. Daniel 4:30. God's response was swift. While the word was still in the king's mouth, a voice fell from heaven, announcing that the kingdom had departed from him. Daniel 4:31. Consequently, the king suffered a great humiliation, enduring a horrific mental illness for 7 years. Nebuchadnezzar began his decree by stating it was directed to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth. Daniel 4:1. After the customary wish for peace, he stated his purpose: to declare the signs and wonders that the Most High God had worked for him, acknowledging God's mighty wonders and eternal dominion. Daniel 4:2-3. Instead of beginning his message with his own greatness, he focused on God and how God had worked with him. Nebuchadnezzar recounted how he had received a dream, interpreted by Daniel, warning him of his impending insanity, so he would learn that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses. Daniel 4:25. He needed to know that heaven rules. Daniel 4:26. The king then stated that his predicted insanity did indeed occur. Daniel 4:4. After this humbling experience and after his mental abilities had returned, Nebuchadnezzar wrote, "I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever, for his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will. No one can restrain his hand or say to him, 'What have you done?' And those who walk in pride, he is able to put down." Daniel 4:34-37. The drying up of the Euphrates River is not only a biblical prophecy, but has also come true in recent times. As the river recedes, numerous ancient discoveries have emerged, stunning the world. One such discovery is an ancient tunnel with a remarkably well-preserved structure, complete with intact, neatly arranged stairs. The origin of this tunnel is a subject of much speculation. Some believe it to be a relic of ancient civilizations, still preserved today. However, a local rumor suggests that this tunnel leads to the prison where the fallen angels mentioned in Revelation 9 are confined. This tunnel, known as the legendary Euphrates Tunnel, is said to have been built between 2180 and 2160 BCE, under the Euphrates River, to connect the two halves of the city of Babylon in Mesopotamia. Meanwhile, a severe drought in Texas has uncovered new dinosaur tracks in Dinosaur Valley State Park. Located southwest of Dallas, the park has been experiencing severe drought, leading to a burn ban. Normally, these tracks are underwater and buried under layers of sediment. However, the drought has made them visible. These tracks, dating back 113 million years, primarily belong to two species, a theropod called Acrocanthosaurus and a sauropod called Sauroposeidon. An adult Acrocanthosaurus would stand about 15 feet tall and weigh close to 7 tons, while an adult Sauroposeidon would be about 60 feet tall and weigh around 44 tons. Although these newly uncovered tracks were briefly visible, upcoming rain is expected to cover them again. The visibility of the tracks at the park depends on the amount of rainfall in the area. While the tracks, revealed by the drought, will soon be buried again, the sediment actually helps protect them from natural weathering and erosion. Dinosaur Valley State Park remains committed to preserving these 113-million-year-old tracks for both present and future generations. Mesopotamian archaeological treasures. The receding waters of rivers and reservoirs have unveiled a wealth of archaeological treasures in the basins of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, which flow through Iraq and Syria. These areas, known as the cradle of some of the world's oldest civilizations, have been affected by persistent drought. The decline in the flow of the Euphrates has exposed several archaeological sites in northern Syria, including cemeteries dating back 11 millennia that were submerged under the waters of the Al-Assad Reservoir, built in the early 1970s. These sites were explored before the reservoir was filled, as part of an international campaign to save the heritage that would be covered by the waters after the dam's construction. With the retreat of the flooded area, the site of Tel Marbet has re-emerged, revealing remains from the 9th millennium BC. This site is historically significant as it contains the first known Syrian wall, built around 11,000 years ago. In Iraqi Kurdistan, the receding waters of the Mosul Dam Reservoir have uncovered the ancient city of Zajo, an important cultural center of the Mitanni Kingdom, which thrived between 1550 BC and 1350 BC. Among the finds are two-story residential and administrative buildings, a metal foundry, large walls up to 6 meters wide, and towers. Additional discoveries include multiple brick walls, seals, ceramics, cuneiform texts, and a section of a building's walls with remnants of their original color. This archaeological site, located about 3 kilometers from the town of Kamuna, has provided a wealth of information about this ancient civilization. The largest fish in the Euphrates River. The mangar is the largest fish in the Euphrates River and one of the largest freshwater fish in the world. These fish can grow over 7 feet long and weigh more than 300 pounds. Historically, they have been important to humans for various reasons, including as popular targets for sport fishermen. The Euphrates River, being one of the most important rivers in human history, naturally hosts this significant species. Mangars are fascinating creatures with smooth heads and large round eyes. Their bodies angle sharply upwards behind the head to a flattened dorsal fin midway down the back. Their tails have 2 pronounced fins, and they resemble pike, trout, and salmon in appearance. Typically, mangars are gold or silver with lighter colored bellies. Despite their enormous size, they pose no danger to humans, as they have no teeth and their mouths operate by sucking in prey such as small fish, zooplankton, and occasionally birds, which they swallow whole. Large freshwater fish like the mangar sometimes inspire tales of human drownings, but verified cases are rare. Unlike the notorious saltwater bull shark, which can swim and attack in freshwater, the mangar is harmless to humans. Its diet consists solely of small fish, and its toothless mouth makes it incapable of attacking a human even if it wanted to. Mountain of Gold. Gold has been one of the most sought-after metals throughout human history. It has been valued for its beauty, rarity, and versatility, with civilizations going to great lengths to acquire it. The Euphrates River, one of the most iconic waterways in the world, has been the subject of many myths and legends, including claims that it contains vast amounts of gold. According to these legends, once the river dries up, a mountain of gold will be revealed, causing widespread panic. For Muslims, many prophecies, especially those related to signs of the Judgment Day that Prophet Muhammad stated 1,400 years ago, have come true, such as the drying of the Euphrates River. The Euphrates River is mentioned in both the Bible and the Quran, where it is associated with prophecies and spiritual significance. In the Bible, particularly in the book of Revelation, the Euphrates River is mentioned several times. While the prophecies do not specifically state that there is gold in the river, they suggest that the river is associated with wealth and riches. This has led some people to interpret these prophecies as evidence that the Euphrates River may contain significant gold deposits, fueling speculation and myth about finding gold in the river. In the Quran, there are also references to the Euphrates River. It is said that when the river dries up, a golden mountain will appear, which will be the source of great destruction. According to prophecy, the discovery of these golden mountains will incite human greed, leading to people fighting each other to death over the gold. However, the gold is believed to be cursed, and no one will benefit from it, as all who fight for it will perish. Despite these prophecies, it is important to consider that the gold mentioned in the Bible might not simply refer to gold as we know it. It could be a metaphor for highly valuable resources like uranium, oil, or other precious materials that could incite conflict. In a region as geopolitically complex as the Middle East, the discovery of such a treasure could indeed lead to conflict and war rather than peace. From a geological perspective, it is not likely that the drying up of the Euphrates River would reveal significant new deposits of gold. When a river dries up, it may expose previously underwater areas that could potentially contain hidden gold deposits. However, this does not guarantee the discovery of large new deposits. Gold deposits are typically found in areas with geological activity, such as the movement of tectonic plates or volcanic activity. The location of these deposits is determined by a complex set of factors, including the presence of certain minerals, temperature, and pressure. While the Euphrates River may have carried small amounts of gold downstream in the past, significant deposits are unlikely to have accumulated in the riverbed due to the relatively low levels of erosion and sedimentation in the area. Thus, any gold present in the riverbed is likely to be in small amounts, and the drying up of the river is not likely to reveal large new deposits. Additionally, the drying up of the Euphrates River would have significant environmental and social impacts. The river is an important source of water and livelihood for millions of people in the region. Attempts to extract gold from the riverbed could exacerbate these impacts, causing further environmental degradation and social disruption. Such efforts should be approached with caution and sensitivity. In conclusion, while the legends and prophecies surrounding the Euphrates River and its supposed gold deposits are fascinating, they should be viewed with a critical eye. The potential discovery of gold in the riverbed, whether literal or metaphorical, underscores the need for careful consideration of the environmental and social consequences, as well as the geopolitical implications, in a region already fraught with conflict.